Today, I am streaming in portrait mode. I am a cretin. What did my friend call me? He said he was heathen. Something like that. I streamed in portrait mode and he was like, "You disgust me! You are terrible for streaming in portrait mode." He says, "How dare you?" And so, Cameron, this one's for you. Portrait mode. This is really brief. Basically, there are a couple guys that ordered cam sets, and I have failed to get them to them in a reasonable amount of time because I had a couple delays. And today is the final day of the delay, I believe. So basically, after I get the cams from Kelford, where they grind my profile onto the lobes, I undergo 4 additional processes. One of those processes is done by my machinist. We jig the cams up on a fixture and we cut 8 of them at a time. And in those processes, we do the main bore down the cam, then the 4 holes in the sides, and all of that. And then we take them off of that. I take them home and I pound a freaking ball plug into the end, and these are the guys, to block the new oil flow pathway that we created, that we needed to create, but we need to put something in the end of it. So this little ball plug is kind of neat. It's stainless steel, and there's this little ceramic ball in there, and you smash that thing in there, and it expands these little groovies, and you get it blocks the oil passageway, right? But I don't like doing that. I don't like it because, one, I'm swinging a hammer next to cams. It just doesn't apply. It doesn't seem safe. That's what I'm trying to say, right? I don't want to swing a hammer next to some cams. So I wanted to do something else. And so I thought, well, I have to weld on the cam to block a hole in the side of it. So maybe when I'm welding, I can weld it shut. Well, it's a big hole. As you can tell, that's an 8mm plug. So I was like, there's got to be another way of doing it. Well, if I'm already welding, then I can just weld something else into the end of it. So I designed this cute little plug here. It's got a little taper that matches I wish it would focus. Matches the taper on the end of the cam. And then it's got a groove for an O-ring. And this is a slight press fit. And then slide into the end of the cam. Boop. And then just do a real quick tack weld. It's a press fit, so I get pretty good heat transfer really quick, so it doesn't melt the O-ring or anything. But then I'm buying an O-ring, and I'm doing some welding. And I never like to weld on a cam more than I have to because I don't want to mess up the heat or the temper of the steel or whatever. But they're just tiny little tacks, and this thing's pretty thin, as you can see, and it just sticks pretty quick. So it's not really a big deal. But again, I had to make a couple hundred of these little plugs. They're actually really fancy. I wish you could see. I wish anything would focus, because I got this little chamfer on the edge. It's really nice. It sits inside the chamfer left by the other tool. And then this one goes to the end of the can. It's really cool little plug. But I got to put little 10mm O-rings on it. Whatever. So it was cool, but I decided last minute not to even fucking use them. So I paid a bunch of money to have all these little guys made for the cams, and yeah, so that was a waste. It was a waste of money. I mean, I'm sure I could find a use for these plugs or something somewhere. Anyways, so what did I end up doing? I ended up doing what I wanted to do in the first place, but I was worried that I would break tooling or cams. Cams are pretty hard. And they're supposed to be hard because they have a job to do, and they often can contact metal on metal. It's not supposed to, but metal on metal contact can occur, and as such, you need to make sure that the surfaces are hard so that deformation doesn't occur right away. Blah 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 blah. Also, the hard steel helps with the oil. Anyways, typically, if you try and drill on something that's hardened, you can snap a drill bit. If you try and tap something that's hardened, you can break your tap. I didn't want to do that, and so I was really paranoid about it. So I never even tried to tap the end of it. So this is a lesson for everybody. You should at least try. So we said one day, you know what? Let's just try and see how it goes. Tap like freaking butter. I actually have had harder, softer metals both that tapped worse. This stuff tapped so easy that it took longer to take the cam out of the bag than it took to tap it. So I would take a cam out of the bag, hand it to the machinist. He would tap it while I was taking another one out of the bag. Before I can get that one out of the bag, he was already done with the one tapping and had already tapped it, blown off, and cleaned it to hand it back to me. And so I was actually behind, and all my job was to take cams out of boxes, out of bags, hand them to him, and take the new ones that he just did, put them back in the bag and back in the box. And I was behind significantly. That's how fucking easy it was for him to tap these cams. I mean, it was seconds. And I went through and I designed these freaking plugs. I sourced these freaking plugs and made a jig that holds the cam so I could smack these with a hammer correctly at the right length. Like, I went through all kinds of bullshit and all these really neat creative ideas, and I never thought to, maybe I should just try and see how well it fucking taps, right? Like, well, it taps great. And so I guess there's two lessons there. One, try it. And sometimes the answer is the easiest. There's a lot of things that I've done that actually prove that for the right reasons, and that I did something easy and fixed it. And then there's reasons that proved the wrong way by screwing it all up first and going way too complicated when I could have just tapped it and threw in a 3/8x16 plug in the first place. But yeah, so if you're one of the three guys that's waiting on cams right now, that's why. I've been battling all of this, because I didn't like the way I was doing initially, and I wanted to get something that was better and more reliable. So now all I do is just, so now the tapping, we also move into the machining process, so it becomes one whole less operation instead of having to. I didn't cover the operations, did I? I get them made. I have machinists do the work on the holes. I weld close the other hole. I plug the end of it, so I guess it's 5. And then I have to do my lobe treatment, where I go through and I do what I do to the lobes. And then they're done. So now I get to get them from whatever. Get them from Kelford. Then I do the machine work, which includes the tapping now. Then I weld the hole, screw the plug in, and then do my lobe treatment. So it's one less procedure. It's one less dangerous procedure, which is always good. And it's less heat affecting the cam or expansion from this plug. You know, the cam's kind of thin on the JD ones, especially around it. I'm not swinging a hammer by them. So yeah, I guess that's the lesson. Try and get one of whatever you're doing, and make sure it's a sacrificial one, and break it, or don't, but don't be afraid to break it. Trying to do it. I was afraid to before, because the cams are hard to get. They come from New Zealand. They cost a fortune to ship. Holy shit, this last shipment of cams, the shipping alone was over $500. And it was 8 sets of cams or 7 sets of cams. Like, it was just ridiculous how much it cost to ship. COVID, everyone's excuse is COVID has screwed up all their shipping. So, yeah, it's hard to get this stuff. They take 2 months to get cut and everything else. So I was paranoid and worried about it. What I could have done is taken an old cam that was damaged or out of an engine I wasn't going to use anymore and practiced on that, or I could have said fuck it and use one of them out of the set and then end up having to get one next order, right? Production run. So anyways, that's the moral of the story. Try this simple shit first. Even if you think it might not work, try it anyways, before you go complex and start designing this multi-angled plug that takes an O-ring and all kinds of shit. Yeah, like there was so much thought and time that went into these things and have them made that I didn't have to do it. Now I have these plugs. I don't know. Do I drill holes in them now, make keychains out of them? They look almost like little bullets. Really, look like they'd be like little bullets or like pellets. Pellet gun. Make a really big pellet gun, 8mm pellet gun, or something. I don't know. Anyways, that's the moral of today's story. So today I'm not at the shop. Today I'm at home, working in my home shop. I just got home from the machinist. We just finished tapping all the cams. Now I have to order all the plugs. So you can have all the plugs. I didn't have all the plugs. We need to sure we knew what length to get. So now I know what length to get. I got to order the plugs. So if you're waiting on cams, I will be doing the lobes today and probably the welding today. Depends on how long it takes for me to do all the lobes. And then when the plugs show up, I will Loctite them fuckers in there and box them up and send them to you. So I apologize for the delay, but know that you're getting a better product, and it's going to be safer. This ball, that's the other thing I was worried. I was worried these balls would fall out. Like, I know you beat the shit out of them, but I was just worried that this ball might slide out sometimes, heat cycles or whatever. I just was a little paranoid that there'd be an issue with the balls. So, like, that's not going to be an issue. These aren't going to leak oil, but I was worried, what if I welded them and the, the O-ring melted inside? I have no way of knowing, and then it ends up leaking a little bit of oil and losing oil pressure to the lobes or whatever, so I was kind of worried about that. But now I have nothing to worry about because I went the easy way and just tapped the fucking things, but Loctite on plug and screw it in. Like, anyway. Sometimes my brain goes to, oh, look, here's my drawing. Check this out. Let's do that 1 second. Unfold this guy. Look at my hole in my ceiling from when I remodeled. There we go. Check this out. Can you guys see that? This is my drawing that I made. DomTune. But yeah, so this is there's my cross-sectional view, explaining all the angles and stuff. Yeah, that's my fancy plug that I spent all that time on that I don't need to use. LOL, right? All right. Well, I gotta get back to work for you cam guys. And also, the cam seal tool, those are starting to ship. People are buying those. I appreciate that a ton. These things are really awesome. If you haven't seen them yet, this thing is really awesome. It even comes with a little plastic protector for you if you want it. I have been checking into other engines that they're compatible with. I think that I can use these on other engines. So I've been looking around trying to get engines to get a hold of. It almost works on a 4G. Fuck, like I was so close. If I change it just a little bit, it would work on a 4G 63 as well as the Subaru. I almost doubled my market on this, but I built them prematurely without testing them on other things. So maybe someday I'll release a 4G one. I'm also thinking of doing the crankshaft. A lot of guys do the oil pump seals and don't take the oil pump off. But I don't think that market's nearly as big because like everyone needs a good cam seal tool that builds an engine if they want to be accurate. But the crankshaft, a lot of people take the oil pump off the engine anyways and then just do it on the bench, and that's not nearly as difficult to get them going around a camshaft. We have two cars at the shop right now that need cam seals. The engines are too old and they're starting to leak, or they sat parked for too long and they got hard and dry. And when they fired it up, the little bit of rust or whatever it was tore the seal up. So we get to do these on car. And yeah, Subaru techs should buy these, I think. I'm going to try and get the dealership. The dealership actually called and asked about them, so that's cool, right? Dealership wanted to get some, so I think it's the best cam seal tool on the fucking market, hands down. And I got these nifty little boxes for them. Yay, little 5x3x3 boxes. There they go. So that's exciting. Want to see my liquor station? Want to party? Just kidding. I guess that's it. Have a good day, guys. I'm going to get to work.